Oh my God. And here I am again. I didn't send it to the stream, so I was just yapping all by myself. Technology and me, apparently. I used to do technology for a living. Can you believe that? I can't because I screw up so many times. But anyway, so when you're looking at lake water, you're looking at water that's going to be for stability, for, maintaining things in the status quo. It's going to be great for connecting with the other side. If you do any kind of work connecting with spirits, if you do any kind of work connecting with the dead, all of this work is going to be great using lake water, right? Because lake water, there's no movement. It's just very stable where it is. So once we move on to river water, it's a whole different situation. With river water can also be great for cleansing, but river water, I mean, you can collect it and bring it home, but the power of the river water is in its movement. So river water is a great place to do spells for things that you want to banish, for things you want to get rid of in your life, for things that you basically don't want to keep around. So if you're trying to lose weight, if you're trying to quit smoking, if you're trying to get rid of toxic relationships, if you're trying to banish something negative from your life, what you want to do is you want to do the work. You can do it with water or you can do it with fire, but you don't want to be throwing into the river anything that is non-biodegradable. So I recommend, if you're doing work with paper for banishment and all that, I like to use paper and ribbons and all of that kind of work. And then I burn it in a cauldron. Make sure it burns all the way down. And then you can take the ashes with it and you can add some other herbs to that. So for example, if I'm really banishing something, I'll take the ashes and I will add in some rue, mix it all up, and that's what gets tossed into the water. You do not want to toss anything that's man-made, any food that's processed. Anytime you're tossing anything into the water, the goal is that you are going to minimize the effect that your magic is going to have on that water. So you want to make sure that you don't bring food and toss it in there. That's not good because you don't know what it's going to do to the environment, right? So herbs, leaves, and ashes, because ashes will settle or they'll mix in with the silt of the river already, and it's going to be the least amount of damage that you can do to any water. So especially if you're doing lakes, if you're doing rivers, I always like to take my offerings, burn it down to ash, and then toss it in. Some people have added salt into that, but the fact of the matter is a lot of animals that live in fresh water do not tolerate salt well. So you do not want to toss anything with salt into the river. This is why I prefer herbs. You don't want to use resins because resins are not going to, break down as easily. So you want to use herbs, like good herbs are roses and lavender and rosemary and all of that. And you can mix your stuff with it and you can toss it in as part of your ceremony. Once again, it's the same process. Bring a white candle, sit in front of the water, introduce yourself, talk to the water, ask if it's okay for you to do this, and then listen for the answer before you just toss it in there. So it's a process. Everything we do is a process. You're not just kind of yanking parts of nature for your own personal use. It's always done in a reciprocity, in a relationship manner, in a respectful. So that's going to be that one. So we talked about oceans, lakes, and rivers. And the last type of water that you can work with in the summertime, and actually is one of the best times to collect this type of water, summer and fall, is going to be thunderstorm water. And this is a powerful water that is basically when there's a thunderstorm outside, especially if there's lightning, you can put a mason jar. What I do with mine is I basically put a mason jar like this, and I will put a piece of cheesecloth in here because I don't want any bugs to come in. So I'll put a piece of cheesecloth on the top and I put it outside throughout the storm and I just let it collect. You have to be very careful that you go in there the very next day or as soon as the storm ends to collect what you put in, because I'll tell you what, I've collected many times like overnight and then I forgot the container there all through the day, and by the time I came back at night the sun had already evaporated all of my water. Not a great plan. So if you put out containers to collect, you want to make sure as soon as the storm is past, and preferably before it gets too hot, you want to bring that container in so you can make use of the water. And you can, once again, you're going to need to put in your water some vodka, once again, to maintain it. Now, thunderstorm water or rainstorm water can be powerful. Thunderstorm water is going to have that added electricity and jolt, right? So I use thunderstorm water whenever I'm needing fast results, whenever I'm wanting to interject something really fast. I need that boost of power, right? Rainwater is a very cleansing water. It's kind of like a gift. So rainwater can be used for gratitude work. It can be used for all types of cleansing. It can be used for connecting with ancestors, the same way that you would use lake water. Rainwater can be used. Replenishing, like healing. Rainwater is great for healing, all types of healing. So rainwater is a great option for that as well. And then the last type of water that you can collect is going to be dew water. So you have to get up very early in the morning, and especially better after there was a rainstorm overnight. You get up and you can go outside and bring a small container, and you want to just pour the dew from the plants. Once again, you are always working in relationship. You are always working with permission. So you're going to be asking those plants to, if it's okay for you to collect their dew. And they're going to tell you yes, and they're going to tell you no. If they tell you no, you're going to respect that answer. Dew water is a great water for new beginnings. It's a great water for manifestation. It's a great water for abundance, for protection, for all of those things. Storm water is also great for protection. But it's a lot. I use it a lot of time when I need like fast action. Fast action, storm water is going to be very powerful in that regard. So now that we've talked about all of the waters possible, let's talk about the other thing that is abundant is going to be the sun. So I've already done videos last month for working with sunflowers, very powerful magic, working with sunstone, also equally powerful. But there's a lot of ways that you can collect energy of the sun into crystals to work with it. You can also harness the power of the sun to create different types of oils. And I'm going to show you what I'm going to be making. Normally I make this in midsummer, but I haven't had time. So this is a typical cleaned out pasta jar. And so we are going to be using sunflowers to make sunflower calendula oil. Now, let me tell you a little bit about what you're going to use calendula oil for. Calendula oil is going to be great for healing minor scrapes and wounds. It's great for wound care. If you're doing other kinds of, sorry, I'm making a mess here with my calendula. If you're doing any other kind of balms and things like that you need calendula oil for, one that's sun infused is going to have all of that vitality added to it. If you're looking to do magical work with calendula, then you're going to be looking at the magic of success. All of the energy of the sun, elemental fire is going to be in that. Calendula is excellent for all types of legal situations that you have. It's great for creativity work. It's great for working with the divine masculine, for embracing your own authenticity. Once again, our theme for the summer this year, authenticity. So in this jar here, I'm using, I'm going to see if I can fit all 2 ounces of calendula in here. And then you're going to use any kind of oil that you want to use. I'm going to be using jojoba oil, but another oil that I have used in the past that tends to work really, really well as well is coconut oil. Fractured coconut oil is going to be also excellent. You don't want to use the oil that gets solid at room temperature. You want to use the fractured stuff. So basically what you're going to do is you're going to fill your jar, and this jar fit exactly 2 ounces. So measure it based on the size of your jar. But basically you want your jar to be filled to the very top with your herb. So see, this jar now is filled with calendula all the way to the top. And so once it's filled all the way to the top, you are going to pour your oil. And like I said, I'm using jojoba oil this time, but you can use fractured coconut oil, whatever you want. And you're going to pour it in to all of this until it hits also the rim. Let's see. So yeah, there's my calendula oil. Pour a little bit more. So there's my calendula, and it's got oil all on the inside. So I poured the oil all the way to the top. So calendula goes all the way to the top, and then you put the calendula in first, because if you put the oil in first and then drop the calendula in, it's going to overflow everywhere. So you put the calendula in first, and then you fill the oil in. So then what you're going to do here is you're going to seal it, seal the jar, and you're going to put it on us outside where it's going to be getting full sun. So if you have a place in your house where it's going to be getting full sun, if you don't have a place in your house, maybe if you have, let's say, a little window or something where you can get full sun, you want to make sure you put it in there. But basically, the idea is the sun is going to infuse this oil for us. So one of the things I like to do is I tighten the lid. In this one here, I don't need to add anything else to it because it's got a nice tight lid. But if you're using a mason jar that has that lid that's in two pieces, just to be on the safe side, what I often do with that is I put then the jar inside of a plastic bag. So that just because I don't want any bugs or anything like that to be stuck to the lid, because it's going to be outside between 3 and 5 weeks is about how long. So you want to check it. So at the end of 3 weeks, you're going to go in there, you're going to open it up, you're going to check it, smell it, make sure that the oil should be very fragrant with calendula by then. And then if it's not fragrant yet, if you feel the energy in it and it's not exactly where you want it to be, you put it back out for up to 3 more weeks. At the end of that, when the oil is finally complete, you're going to bringing it inside, and you are going to pour it out through a filter. So coffee filters work really nicely. You want to make sure that you're choosing something that's got very, very fine mesh, right? You don't want to use a colander. You don't want to use a filter that maybe has a lot of holes in it, right? You want to use something that's very fine mesh. I also don't recommend using cheesecloth. I know some people like to use cheesecloth, and cheesecloth makes it a little bit easier in terms of trying to get every last drop of the oil out, but you end up also with little pieces of herb coming through. So I like to minimize how much of that I get. So I put this through, I have a very fine mesh filter, and this is what goes through it. And then I let it decant overnight. So decant means you put it in another container and you let it sit overnight, just like this. And then when you get up in the morning, what you're going to notice is that all the solid little particles are going to form like a fuzz at the very bottom of your jar. So you want to I decant mine 3 times because I want really just the pure oil. So I decant it 3 times. And so I pour it out and I put in, let it decant again. And there's going to be more fuzz at the bottom. And then I pour it out. And when you're pouring it out, obviously you're going to lose a little bit of oil because you want to make sure you're not pouring that fuzzy stuff in either. So you pour it out and you decant it as many times as it takes for you to feel comfortable that you have a nice clean oil. And then that oil is going to be good depending on the shelf life of your oil. And the reason why I like to use jojoba and I like to use fractured coconut oil is because they basically have an unlimited shelf life. If you're using olive oil, you're looking at about 9 to 12 months shelf life. If you're using almond oil, you're looking at about 9 months shelf life. If you're using grapeseed oil, you're looking between 4 and 5 months shelf life. And what does that mean? That means that after those months are over, that oil is going to start to get rancid because it's not stable just on its own in that way. So then you're going to have to toss this beautiful oil that you made. So if I'm going to go through the trouble of doing this and collecting all of that sun magic, then I want to make sure that I'm going to be having this oil for quite some time. Normally, a bottle like this will last me for about 3 years, is how long I use it for. And I just take it and add it to other oil blends. I may add it to salves. I may use it just by itself. It's great also for stamina. Anybody who's recovering from illness, you can use this to anoint candles. You can use it to anoint doorways. You can use it to anoint yourself. Any kind of anointing ceremony, you can use this, but you can also use it for any kind of spell work that you're doing. So some people like to add this in, like if you've created another one that you've created, let's say you created also rosemary oil, you can combine both of those. Really great combo for a very fiery blend. You can do rosemary the exact same way. I prefer to do mine with calendula because calendula really traps all of that sun energy in because it is very much a sun herb. And sun is going to have the correspondences of success, of divine masculine, of authenticity, of personal power, all of those things. So this is an all around oil. And you can even use it as a general anointing oil whenever you're doing just basic ritual oil blend. You can do that. You can add essential oils to it if you want to, a few drops of a few essential oils if you want to change it. So I wouldn't add it to here, right? I would say what I normally do is I pour from here into a smaller bottle for whatever purpose I'm using, and then I add the essential oils in it for me to use it for that purpose. So this is a great way for you to tap into sun magic, during the summer when the sun is at its highest, and then keep this Magick with you all year round. So this is great if you create this oil in the summer and you need a little pick me up or a boost in the wintertime where you're maybe feeling discouraged or whatever. This is a great oil to have in hand because you've got all the power of the sun right here. Especially for people who suffer from seasonal affective disorder, this is a great way to just kind of give yourself a tiny little boost. You can anoint yourself with it. You can add this oil to your bath water, however it is that you want to do. So this is all that I have for you today in terms of working with summer magic. So hopefully you've got some great ideas, and I hope that you will post your responses about kind of which parts of this were more helpful to you. I want to hear what it is that you like the most, what really called out to you as being an important part of your sun magic. So all of those things, just post a reply to this video in whatever platform you're watching it in, and just let me know what parts you're going to really implement because I want to hear from you. All right, guys, take care. I hope everybody has a fantastic week. I'll see you guys in 2 weeks. All right, bye-bye.